What's up, guys? Rubeo on the fly, coming to you live from my basement. And so I want to welcome everybody here. Thank you everybody who is subscribed to my channel. Again, I started this just a few months ago, and so thank you to everyone who's here. And so want to do a quick video. This is a little different from the content that I'm used to, and so I know there's a million different videos out there on gear and setup, but wanted to go over what's been working for me, and hopefully that helps out some of you out there. So I just want to start out by saying I'm not a professional guide or anything like that. I'm just your average Joe fisherman, right? I'm just passionate about the sport. I grew up with a dad who was a fly tyer, fly fisher, and yeah, and just recently in the last 2 years, you know, fly fishing has re-entered my life, probably mainly due to this controversial topic that we call European style nymphing. And I've had a couple of questions, so hopefully I could get to those here today, because purpose of this video is just to kind of run down just some of the setup that I've been using this year. This is my main setup that I use probably 90% of the time when I'm on the water. This is my Echo Shadow X, and this is a 10.5 foot 3-weight. I have that paired with this is a Gray's Tital reel. You don't see a lot of these, but it's one of Hardy's companies. The cool thing about it is that it's full caged, and so having a full cage is just good so you don't, you know, get tangled up in your line there. And so that's kind of what we're doing for gear there. But again, this isn't a gear video. Let's go into how is this working for us. So recently I've kind of changed over to I've been using a thicker butt section because I've been casting a lot of dry flies with the Euro Nymphing setup. And that kind of goes into why I chose to use a 3-weight, because with a 3-weight you could just be a little bit more versatile on the water. After carrying multiple rods with me down to the riverbank, you'd much rather just get the day's fishing done with just one rod if possible. And so 10.5 foot 3-weight, again, I can nymph with it, and also with this setup, I can throw dry flies and throw those effectively and switch back between the two using the same exact Euro nymphing leader. So I'm using a long, this is 20-pound Sunset Amnesia. That's this stuff. Everybody knows what that is. I used to run just straight 10-pound just to kind of get away as thin as I can, and you know, which that's great, but for longer casts and if you're going to be presenting dry flies, having a thicker butt section to help turn those flies over gives you much more control over your cast. I've kind of been just experimenting with what works best for me and where's like a middle ground, how can I get, you know, away with one or the other. And so I do want to go over what I have going on beneath my cider material. So I'm using about a 4 to 5 foot piece of I think this is the Rio Bi Color. So it's pink and green. They got all different kinds out there, even black and white. So find one you like. They're all pretty much the same, or just go with gold strand, or even Sunset Amnesia will work just as fine. So yeah, 4 or 5 feet section of this bicolor cider material. And then I'm tapering up, actually. I'm going from 10 pound to 12 pound to 15 pound. And that combined section is about 10 feet. And then from 15 pound, then I'm going back up to the 20 pound. And then it's about 25 feet of the 20 pound Amnesia. And again, that for the most part is going to stay within the rod and, you know, inside the rod tip and inside the guides. And then once you start picking that line up and really start to cast that line out, once that 20 pound gets outside your rod tip, you can really start to feel the difference in how that turnover really helps. And so, you know, with the thinner leaders, and if you have weighted flies, you know, and you start casting that, you can really feel those flies pull your line. And so, which again, that's important to get the timing down and making sure that you have a good cadence and a good stop, especially on your tuck cast, because that's the primary cast with this technique. And so, and again, there's a million videos out there on Euro nymphing, you know, that can explain this a lot better than I can. And so, but I did want to talk a little bit about some of the flies and why that's important. Because, you know, with the controversy of Euro nymphing, you know, all of a sudden we got, you know, jig hooks and tungsten beads. And what's that about? Well, basically all it is it's replacing split shot, right? And so, this is just my fly box that I've kind of gotten started this last summer. And so, and really when you look at it, there really isn't a whole lot of variety. The main variety is just in sizes. You know, we got pheasant tails, hare's ears, some with a soft hackle, some with a CDC. That's usually the kind of flies I like to tie. And over here I got a lot of, you know, jig streamers, leeches, bunny leeches, you know, a lot of Lancegan and Devin Olsen patterns you're going to find in my box. And so, those were just the ones that I discovered on YouTube, and I just happened to, you know, get lucky on the first pitch, right? And so those guys, they know what they're talking about, and they've competed all over the world. So, hey, if it works for them, it could work for you. So, but yeah, for a typical, leader system, you know, your flies are going to heavily depend on what type of water that you're fishing. Now, I mentioned earlier about, you know, fishing dry flies. I'll typically put a dry fly on my tag fly, and then have like a little dropper beneath that. But what I got here is just a typical 2-fly Euro nymphing setup. We got 2 nymphs. Again, this is the tag fly, you guys. This is your point fly or your anchor fly. Some people like to call this the dropper, but I think it, you know, for confusion's sake, you know, I call this the tag. So typically I like to have the heavier fly be on the bottom, so I can run like this as the flies are drifting through the water column. Because again, you're going to be at an angle. The water on the bottom of the river is moving slower than the current on the top, and so ideally it's going to be looking like this. You know, for a run that's 4 to 5 feet deep, you know, you might fish with a 4mm bead or 3.5mm bead, whatever's going to help get you down the quickest without, you know, dragging bottom the whole way. And so, and that might just be experimenting a couple of things. But another thing to look at too is with your flies is to look at how dense they are. And so if you have a fluffier fly with, you know, a soft hackle or something like that, that may not sink as quickly as a more denser fly like a perdigone, or, you know, something that's UV resin and it's thin, tapered. And so some of those come into play as well. But yeah, you could do a whole 40-minute video just on that topic alone. But just wanted to give people just kind of an average Joe overview of what's going on here. So you can fish more than 2 flies as long as it's legal in your area. Sometimes I'll even put an unweighted, like a soft hackle, just tie on a little perfection loop, 4 to 6 inch tag, and then loop that onto my leader. It's going to allow it to spin freely, so less tangles there is great. Hopefully that covers some questions, but again, we'll just want to thank everybody again for subscribing to my channel, and again, yeah, be on the lookout for more videos, and hope this helps somebody out. And again, tight lines. We'll see you guys. Peace.